In this video, we want to show you 5 tips that can make you a better software developer in 2021. Our first tip is to break down large problems into smaller pieces. Software development is about problem solving. You're solving real-world problems with technology. Look at mail. If you were sending a letter or a package to someone, depending on where it's going, it can take anywhere between a few days and a few months. Email solves that because it's instant. Building an email service is a huge problem to solve, so we have to start by breaking it down to the smallest possible feature we can achieve. We can start by listing some major features in an email service, like having an inbox, having a list of contacts, and having the actual ability to send an email. But even then, we could break this down further. We can choose the inbox feature and split it into different parts, like the UI to view the emails, a database to store the emails, and a server in the middle to provide the data to the UI and the database. We could still go a step further and break down our UI feature by separating it out into a feature for listing the emails and a feature for displaying an individual email. So, we've started with a huge task and broken it down into the smallest possible feature that we can achieve. As software engineers, we learned that by breaking our problems down into smaller steps, we started to understand our application better, while still being aware of the bigger picture. Our next big tip is to read through open source software on GitHub. Problems in software engineering almost always have more than one solution because of all the tools we have available to us in this day and age. Taking a little time to browse open source projects on GitHub exposes you to new ways of writing code that you weren't previously aware of. Just like how reading more improves your vocabulary, browsing open source projects can expand your knowledge on how to solve a problem. A great way to do this is to look at pull requests. When reading or reviewing them, it's also good practice to think about how you can improve it. Tip number 3 is to use style guides and linters. Just like how there are many solutions to solving problems in software engineering, there are many ways to organize your code, with some being better than others. Familiarize yourself with popular project structures that are commonly used for that language. For Java REST APIs, it's good practice to separate out your projects into 3 fundamental layers: the controller, which handles HTTP requests and responses, the repository, which handles requests to the database, and the service, which deals with validation and pre-processing. Comment down below if you want us to make a video on how we approach writing a REST API. For linting, we recommend using a well-known linter like ESLint for JavaScript along with a style guide like Airbnb's. That way, you get good recommendations that also have documentation to look into why they prefer certain formats over others. The rationale behind this is to follow convention when organizing your code. That way, if a new developer joins your team, he or she is already aware of the way your code is formatted, and instead of spending time trying to understand the unique way you've structured your code, they can get up and running quicker. Tip number 4 is to keep your classes small and make sure they're trying to achieve only one thing. How small your class should be is completely subjective, and honestly, it just depends on how big that one thing is. This concept of only trying to achieve one thing is known as the single responsibility principle. We've got a few examples of classes we've written in the past to show you how single responsibility principle works. Here we have a class called sales. To make an instance of this class, we need to pass in the number of items sold, the price of that item in pounds, a value to convert it into dollars, and a value to convert it to euros. Down here, we're calling the constructor, passing it 5 for the number of items sold, £25 for the price of the item, 1.5 to convert it to dollars, and then 1.1 to convert it to euros. Now these conversion rates are completely made up and don't represent real-life currency conversion rates. Also in our sales class, we have these methods. One to get the revenue in pounds, which does this calculation right here. The second to get it in dollars, which does the same calculation and then converts it into dollars. And then lastly, one to get it in euros, which again does the calculation and then converts it to euros. Now this class is responsible for 2 things. Firstly, it's responsible for working out what your revenue is. Secondly, it's also responsible for converting that revenue into different currencies. But it would be a lot easier to manage if we split those responsibilities into different classes. And that's exactly what we've done here. After splitting them out, we have a currency converter class and a sales class. Our currency converter class is only responsible for converting values between different currencies. So to make an object, we give it a value to convert to dollars and a value to convert to euros. The methods here then do the conversions. So this one will take a value in pounds and give you back that same value in pounds. This one will take a value in pounds and give you a value in dollars, and this one will take a value in pounds and give you a value in euros, using similar conversions to what we were doing in our other class. Whereas in our new sales class, all this is responsible for is working out your revenue in a single currency. So in our constructor, we give it the number of sales and the price of the item, but we don't need to concern ourselves with giving it anything relating to converting between different currencies, because our currency converter class handles all of that. So when we make an instance, we give it 5 for the number of sales and 25 for the price of the item. Then we also make our currency converter object, giving it 1.5 to convert to dollars and 1.1 to convert to euros. We then use our revenue getter to work out our revenue, but just in a single currency. Then we pass that to our pounds method on our converter object, which will take this value and give us a value in pounds. Similarly, this one will take this value and convert it into dollars. So if we wanted to run it, we'd see that our revenue in pounds is 125, and our revenue in dollars is 187.5. Our last tip to becoming a better software engineer is having effective communication and collaboration skills. Speaking to your testers, to your analysts, and to your customers helps you get a better picture of what you're developing. This is why effective communication goes hand in hand with collaboration. We've learned through personal experience how important this is. One of the tickets I was working on earlier in my career as a software developer had a requirement that said the server should be able to process large files. At the time, our server could handle 5 GB sized files, but the product owner expected the server to be able to handle 10 GB sized files. When I had developed the feature to process the files, it failed on any file that was larger than 5 GB, so we had to raise a bug. Only after the bug was raised did I speak to the product owner to realize that it had to process files as large as 10 GB. I could have avoided the bug and saved so much time by speaking to the product owner and clarifying what he meant by the word large. Also, collaborating and pairing with other developers goes a step further than reading code online in tip 2, because it gives you context about why they're using that approach. You start understanding their line of thinking, and you get instant feedback, which makes it one of the fastest ways to grow as a developer. And those were our tips to be a better developer in 2021. If you found this video useful, give us a like and subscribe, and as always, catch you in the next one.